This episode is brought to you by the Ridge Power Bank. Sick of lugging around a bunch of different charging cables when you travel? With Ridge's new 5-in-1 power bank, you've got everything you need to charge all of your devices at once, no problem. It comes with built-in cables and wireless charging capabilities, so whether you're charging your phone, smartwatch, headphones, or anything else, Ridge has you covered. Plus, with 20 watts of power and a 10,000 milliamp capacity, the Ridge Power Bank will get your batteries full fast. You can find Ridge's power bank at Best Buy, or get 10% off by going to ridge.com and using code COMMAND at checkout. Again, that's ridge.com with code COMMAND at checkout.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
I'm Jimmy Wong, and it's time to talk about Spider-Man Commander decks. Well, not the ones that Wizard released, because they didn't release Spider-Man Commander decks, but rather ones that Rachel built.
Yeah, we put together a couple of lists for you. We know there's not ones available, so we sat down and built 4 decks that we thought would be cool and approachable for new players to the Commander world. So if you're here because you like Spider-Man or you like Marvel, hopefully these can jumpstart your Commander journey and get you playing.
Yeah, or bring some friends into the game. We have those cool welcome decks that they had been passing out in Comic-Cons and stuff. Imagine that, but instead Commander.
So 2 of these commanders that we're talking about today actually come directly from the welcome decks. So if you started playing a welcome deck, this should be an easy transition. Okay,
well, first up, of course, it's Spider-Man, so why not have it be Spider-Man, Peter Parker. 3 white for a 4/4 legendary creature, spider-human hero with flying. And it says whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Heroes save people. It's what we do. That's great. Gain life, make a creature indestructible, and make it bigger too.
So this is a classic white deck. It cares about gaining life, it cares about protecting the creatures it owns, and it gets really big.
Yeah.
So there's a couple specific themes that we're building around here. The first one, of course, is life gain.
Yay.
So it's playing a lot of cards that gain 1 life anytime a creature enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
So a great example of this is appropriately Aunt May.
Yeah, Aunt May is a 0/2 that just costs 1 white mana. You can also build a deck around Aunt May, which is kind of hilarious.
You totally can.
Whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. If it's a spider, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So you can have Aunt May out, play Spider-Man, it will gain you 1 life and put a counter on itself, and then it will also see the life gain, and then you can put another +1/+1 counter on something else.
So you can see how this gets out of control if you have a lot of creatures on the battlefield that all gain life when a creature enters. So if 1 creature enters the battlefield and you have multiple effects like Aunt May, your commander will trigger for each creature you have that gains life that way.
Cool.
So you can make a ton of things indestructible. If you can make creatures at instant speed, that means you can make a ton of things indestructible in response to removal spells or board wipe spells. It's very tricksy for a white deck, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of redundant effects like Aunt May that you can put in the deck to make it very consistent. One of them that they printed recently is Halia Guided by Light.
Some card advantage in white as well.
This is a good one. It's 2 and a white for a legendary creature, human soldier. Whenever Halia or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this turn. It also has warp white.
Yeah, so warp we won't take a lot of time explaining here, but the main thing is that Halia can come down either cheap really early and you can gain some life, draw some cards, or you play it. It is a redundant effect to Aunt May, and importantly in white, you're going to be needing to draw some cards, and this will be doing it pretty often, especially as the deck is very focused around gaining a bunch of life.
A huge life gain engine in the deck, especially if you're a combat-centric deck, is Linden the Steadfast Queen.
Oh, yeah.
This one gains life whenever a white creature you control attacks.
Yeah.
So if you attack with 4 creatures, it'll trigger 4 times, triggering your commander 4 times, which will make all of your attackers indestructible and 1 bigger.
Yeah, that's kind of insane, actually.
It's pretty sweet. You gain a lot of life to protect yourself from swinging out, and you protect your creatures in combat.
Yeah, it's Peter Parker and his host of very cool friends. There's, of course, ways to create a bunch of tokens, and tokens either at instant speed or just stapled onto like an enter the battlefield ability means that you're going to get a bunch of these instances of life gain. And again, instantly either buff up 1 creature or put the tokens across a bunch of the other ones. prepare your dice for cards like Secure the Wastes, which is a very classic X and a white for an instant. You just create X 1/1 white warrior creature tokens. You can do it on end step. You can do it as a combat trick. You can do it in a lot of different ways to just get a bunch of stuff on the board and instant speed either protect your commander from a removal spell, protect another creature from a removal spell, protect your board from a board wipe, or do it on end step to just build your board up, make a ton of stuff, and then go into combat the next turn.
Yeah, you could load up all of those counters on your commander, make him really huge, and attack in the air for lethal commander damage.
Yeah, that's definitely something that this deck can do.
The next one I wanted to mention was Jacked Rabbit. A very fun card that is also very good in this deck. It's X1 and a white for a creature, Rabbit Warrior. He's a 1/2 with Ravenous, which means that you can draw a card if you make him really big.
Yep.
But more likely, you're going to cast him for cheap because it says whenever Jacked Rabbit attacks, create a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to Jacked Rabbit's power. Whew. So it makes a ton of tokens. It's a great place to put all those +1 counters from your commander. And then every time it attacks, it makes more rabbits, which gets you more counters, which gets you more rabbits.
Yeah, you're definitely a combat focus in this deck. Another great card from Foundations is Cat Collector. This is a creature that makes a food token when it comes in. But it says whenever you gain life for the first time during each of your turns, you make a 1/1 white cat creature token. So you're just, again, finding lots of ways to incidentally do something when life gain happens. And then your board gets bigger, you gain more life, you put more 1/1 counters, and you go crazy.
Finally, you have some cards that revolve around +1/+1 counters because your commander is very good at distributing them.
Yeah.
So you want to run cards like Dusk Legion Duelist.
Finally, this card shines.
Oh man, it's 1 and a white. It says whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Dusk Legion Duelist, draw a card. It only triggers once each turn, but your deck is going to be designed to gain a lot of life at different times.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, you could draw up to 4 cards with this in a turn rotation.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet if you have instant speed ways to make tokens, gain life, and all that. Sky Knight Squire, another Foundations All-Star. You put 1/1 counters when creatures enter the battlefield on that creature, and then when it has 3 or more 1/1 counters on it, it has flying and is a knight. So this is just a big beater. You can either do it from putting counters on it from your commander or just other ways. And the best part about this deck is that you're creating so many must-kill threats that your opponent is like, okay, board wipe or bust, or man, if I spend 1 removal spell here, it doesn't matter. You have a bunch of other stuff that's all threatening.
And a ton of protection. It's going to be really hard to get through this wall because you need removal that doesn't care about indestructible. And if you have a board wipe, you definitely want to make sure you don't worry, you're getting around indestructible.
Yeah. Exemplar of Light is also similar to Dusk Legion Duelist. It's an angel that gains life, puts 1/1 counters on it, and draws cards when that happens.
All right. So those are the themes of the deck. Those are the things to keep an eye out for. They all revolve around your commander, who's very powerful once you can get him down.
Yeah.
So a couple of strategy points for this deck, how to play it well. The dream is in the first few turns, you play a creature that gains life when other creatures enter. This gives you a lot of control over when you can gain life because you're playing flash creatures, you're playing instant speed tokens, and now when your commander comes down, you gain life right away and start getting those effects rolling.
Yeah, and you also have cards that are kind of like instant speed ways to gain you life, like you said. So you're playing your Pristine Talismans, which is just a mana rock that taps to gain you life, Revitalize, instant speeds, that spells that gain you life, and draw cards. So these are just ways to be like, all right, cool, I've got my board set up. I am going to leave some mana up, and now I challenge you to try and come at me. If you don't, great, I'll cast a Revitalize end of turn, make something bigger, draw a card, and just keep the thing going. Yeah,
I love the idea of using Revitalize as a protection spell and also a little cantrip. It's very fun.
Yeah.
So once you have some life gain engines set up, or you have some protection, instant speed life gain effects, it's a great idea to play a big token spell. Like the Secure the Waste that we mentioned. If you have 1 or 2 creatures that gain life whenever a creature enters, you're going to gain a whole bunch of life that trigger your commander many, many, many times.
Yeah.
So if you make 3 tokens off your Secure the Waste and you have 2 creatures that gain life when other creatures enter, you get 6 triggers
instances
from your commander. 6 counters, 6 creatures gain indestructible. That's very powerful, especially at instant speed.
Yeah, and you're not looking to do Secure the Waste for like 20, 10, 15 rather than this deck. Like Rachel said, is if you have a couple of Soul Sister effects on the board and you just do it for 3 or 4 and your commander, you are doubling up and you're going crazy. And then you have all your other ways of gaining life in the deck.
Yeah. So your commander is expensive. You have a 5 mana commander. So you want to get those life gain engines down early, but you also want to get some setup pieces, a draw spell, a ramp spell, something that makes it a little bit easier for you to have mana open once you cast your big, powerful, expensive commander.
Yep. Okay, so late game. Outside of winning just with putting a bunch of stuff out, what else are you going to be doing to sort of like get the win in?
This deck will likely win with commander damage, which is what we mentioned before. You're probably going to have a big turn where you have a bunch of triggers. You put all the counters on your commander at instant speed and attack someone in the air with a big 21/21 flyer.
Or it's the third time you've hit them now,
That too.
and that's enough to get over the 21 damage limit.
So that is definitely something you should keep in mind when you cast your commander. This is going to be an important piece to your win con.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you have ways to protect him. Instant speed, life gain spells like we mentioned, or even a couple of protection effects go a long way.
Yeah, otherwise, you could also kind of go the route of like, okay, if Spider-Man's not going to kill you, my board's going to be so significant and I'm going to have hit you enough times with my other powerful cards like my Sky Knight Squire that everyone's at a low life total and now I can just swing in the air because I cast in Abzan Falconer.
It's a good
each
one.
creature has a +1/+1 counter on it, has flying, so it gives your board evasion. So hopefully everyone's at a low enough life total that you can take out one or two players, untap and do it again. And Peter Parker at that point, even if he's not around, doesn't matter. Your board is big and significant enough that it's like board wipe or bust.
Mm-hmm. If you have 5/2/2 flyers, that is a lot of damage in the late game and can definitely take players out of the game.
Yeah.
Another big overrun type effect is from Jumpstart. It's Kala, a Johnny's Pridemate. It's 3 and a white. This says whenever Kala attacks, other attacking creatures you control get +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of counters on Kala. Great. That's a good place for us to put all of our +1/+1 counters. And then it says whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Kala.
Yep.
So Kala's going to get huge in one turn rotation. And then if you untap with her, which you have great ways to protect her, you can untap all your tokens that you've made will be enormous.
Yeah, this is kind of a Kala deck, actually.
It definitely feels like a Kala
If you don't
deck.
have Spider-Man, you can just play Kala as the commander, or go to EDH Rec and put in Kala, and you can have a great start there as to understanding what kind of cards go really well in this deck. Okay, yeah, I like that you put Mindless Automaton on this list. This is a creature that when you remove 2 1/1 counters from it, you draw a card. Again, white needs a little bit of help in this department, so having those effects is pretty darn good.
I mean, this is going to be really good. That card says, like, whenever you gain 2 life, you draw a card, essentially. So you can put a ton of counters on your Mindless Automaton to draw through your deck and get one of these big game-ending threats at instant speed. Yeah. It's very powerful. Speaking of powerful, we wanted to mention a couple of splurges in this deck. We kept all of the deck lists around $200, which means it's going to be a powerful deck that's very functional and you're not going to need a ton of upgrades. But I wanted to draw attention to some of the big spender cards because they're very powerful in the list.
Yeah, and if you cut those out, also the price goes down quite a bit.
That's
but
true.
These are powerful for a reason. Heliod Suncrowned is an indestructible 2 and a white 5/5 god. Doesn't bug a creature until you have 5 or more devotion to white, which will probably happen in this deck. But the main thing is whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. It's a similar redundant effect to Peter Parker, and it also has the ability to pay 1 and white and grant a creature lifelink, which probably won't be as necessary. But again,
still pretty good.
Very good, yeah. In a tough spot when your commander hits for 20 and then you gain 20 life, that's another way that you don't lose the game.
Yeah. Heliod's sitting at $22, but he will feel really, really good in the deck and goes well with all of the other pieces that you're working on.
Yeah.
Up next is Skull Clamp. This card is $8.50, but if you are making tokens, you want Skull Clamp in your deck.
Yeah, especially again in mono white where dealing with not having as much card draw is huge.
Yeah.
Call the Crop Coats. This is 2 and a white for an instant. It has Strive, so it costs 1 and a white more to cast for each target beyond the first. Choose any number of target opponents. You create X 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens where X is the number of creatures those opponents control. So sometimes you just cast this on one opponent and you make like 5 to 10 things.
Yeah.
Cast on multiple opponents, you could make more. But just for 3 mana to get a big board state out of nowhere at instant speed, it's pretty good.
Yeah, when you can double up Call the Copper Coats as a token spell and a board protection spell, it's going to be really good, and it's definitely worth the $8 that this card costs.
Yeah.
But instant speed tokens is the way to go with this deck. The total budget that we spent for this build was $197.50. You can get that on Card Kingdom for that price, assuming all of the cards are in stock. That isn't always the case. But if you want to check out that full deck list that is in our ARCHIDEKT, the link will be in the description below.
You could copy and paste the entire deck list and go to cardkingdom.com/command and try and check it out all in one go.
Yeah.
Super convenient way to shop on Card Kingdom, and also just a great way to support the show, obviously, with our sponsor link there. And of course, if you're just buying Magic singles, sealed product, what have you, cardkingdom.com/command is the place to go. Of course, getting all your cards in one convenient package, you cannot beat that value in terms of just the convenience and the ability to sleeve up and play immediately. And not only that, cardkingdom.com/command, you can get the quality you want, the type you want. You know, I remember when I built my Paco and Howdown list, I got the most budget version ever, and I was like, I'm getting a heavily played this, and it was great. I built that thing for like under $50, and it was super fun to use Card Kingdom and shop in a different way. So having the ability to do it all from one location without having to juggle a bunch of different stores and a bunch of different shipping confirmations, I can't tell you how convenient and awesome that is. So just head on over to cardkingdom.com/command to do so.
Yep. And once those cards are in your hand, you're going to need to sleeve them up, keep them protected. Go over to ultrapro.com/command to use our affiliate link and support the show. UltraPro has super high quality Magic accessories. They've got sleeves and deck boxes, binders, play mats, card sorting trays, everything you need to be a burgeoning TCG
or veteran
collector or a veteran. That's true.
Yeah.
One of the biggest upgrades I made to my collection was buying a bunch of Apex sleeves. I just bought the whole collection of the mana symbols one, so I have one for each of my monocolored decks. Really bling them out. They look really sharp, and your opponents know exactly what you're playing, which is cool. It's got a real strong brand.
That's awesome.
Plus, MagicCon is coming up. If you haven't picked up the Mana 8 playmats, they're the best for getting signed, getting drawn on,
or the deck boxes,
turning them into a real memento for the trip. And you can support the show while you're shopping if you go to ultrapro.com/command.
And the last way to support the show is directly patreon.com/commandzone. We love our patrons. And something that has been coming up recently is that YouTube is implementing a bunch of features that are kind of negatively affecting a lot of people on YouTube. There are some weird AI things that are happening that are changing view counts, changing the engagement. And as a result, AdSense and the way that we typically make some of our revenue, as well as many other creators, has been really adversely affected. So Patreon is one of the best ways to directly support the content that you appreciate. They've been a pillar in the content creation world in terms of how to support your favorite channels via the community. So patreon.com/commandzone. We have a ton of awesome perks, a Discord that we interact with our patrons on, answer questions on. And of course, we shout out one lucky patron every episode. So this episode is dedicated to Brian Miller.
Brian, you rock.
You rock. Name's familiar. I feel like Brian's been around for a while.
All right, let's get back into it. This time with a mono green deck.
Hey.
This is a commander that really jumped out to me, so I hope that he's exciting for all of you. It is Sandman, Shifting Scoundrel.
Yeah, this is from the main set. This is 1 green for a star sand elemental villain. Sandman's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Sandman can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And you can pay 3 green, return this card and target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So Sandman keeps coming back and gets bigger because he brings a land back with him.
Quick note, the ability that brings Sandman back to the battlefield requires a land in the graveyard to be able to activate.
Oh.
So you have to have a land to target to bring him back.
Very interesting.
This deck is a lands deck. It cares about getting a ton of lands into play, making Sandman as big as possible, and using your commander's growing power and toughness to draw a ton of cards.
And do cool things.
Green is great at taking advantage of power, and you have a 3 mana commander that keeps coming back to the battlefield that is very high on power. So it's somewhere between a lands deck and a power matters deck.
Okay, very cool. So in green, playing additional lands is one of the biggest and most powerful things it can do. There are some classic cards here that do that. There's Gaia's Touch, a green enchantment that allows you to play an additional land each turn if that land is a basic forest, which is probably going to be in this deck. And of course, you can sacrifice Gaia's Touch to add green to your mana pool, which is a lot of fun. Azusa, Lost But Seeking. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. A classic creature, Oracle of Moldiah, allows you to look at the top card of your library and play that card if it's a land, as well as letting you play an additional land on each of your turns.
Yeah, Oracle really helps you churn through your deck and hit all of those additional land drops that you're hoping to have.
Yeah.
The more lands you get into play, the bigger your commander is. Another great way to get lands onto the battlefield and recur stuff from the graveyard, which we're going to be using heavily in this deck, is the new Exploration Brood Ship. This is a single green for an artifact spacecraft with station. Once it has 3 charge counters on it, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then it has an 8+ ability that makes it a 4/4 flyer. And it says once during each of your turns, you may cast a permanent spell from your graveyard by sacrificing a land in addition to paying its other costs.
Oh, that's very cool.
Huge in this deck.
Yeah, so you can get the land in the graveyard to return Sandman if you need to.
Yeah. The good thing about having a commander that's so cheap and has such high power, especially once you get all these lands into play, is it makes stationing really easy.
Yeah.
So it's actually a great place for the exploration brood ship and other green spacecrafts if you want to go in that direction.
Yeah, very cool. Of course, once you have your graveyard starting to fill up, there's lots of ways, obviously, to mill to your graveyard as well. You've got huge reanimation sort of land spells like Splendor Reclamation, Raymond Up Excavator, that are all going to just bring your lands back from the graveyard with Splendor Reclamation, or Raymond Up Excavator can play your lands from your graveyard. So being able to, of course, always get either a fetch land back in there to replay, recast, retap, re-get another land, get it to the graveyard, do it again with your multiple land spells. You're going to have like 7-8 lands before people even have 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this deck is a monocolored deck, but is running all of the fetch lands that we could fit into a budget. Fetch lands are, of course, very expensive, and so is the land strategy generally. So a lot of these are going to bring lands into play tapped, but that's okay because you're playing a ton every turn.
Yeah.
So if you have one of the like sack lands from New Capenna and Azusa and a Ramunap Excavator, you can keep playing these lands from the graveyard over and over and over and just searching more and more lands out of your deck.
Wow.
Making your commander a lot bigger.
Yeah, you will never have land troubles in this deck. Typically.
We'll tell you how to fill the graveyard in a little bit. That's part of the strategy. But one of the ways is by drawing a ton of extra cards and discarding to hand size. The best card in this deck is Greater Good.
Yay! So yeah, commander's going to be huge, and yeah, you might be thinking, oh, are we just going to hit face with it? No, kill Sandman. Bring him back.
Yeah, hit face and
sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, then discard 3 cards.
It's a great way to fill up your graveyard. It's a great way to utilize your commander, especially because you have a way to keep bringing him back from the graveyard. So you're never paying more than 2 really for that commander tax.
Yeah.
Because you can keep sending him to the graveyard and keep bringing him right back out with a land.
Yeah.
So Greater Good means that you can draw a bunch, discard a bunch, bring your commander back to the battlefield, and do it again if you want.
Yeah, very cool.
Depending on how much mana you have. There are a lot of redundant effects like this.
Yeah, green loves to do this. Life's Legacy is a way to sack a creature. You draw cards equal to sacrifice creature's power. And then this is a really fun foretell version of that as well. Mm-hmm. Lifestream's Blessing, it's from Final Fantasy. 4 green for an instant, you draw X cards where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you cast this spell, which is great. You can't get blown out.
Huge. Because
someone usually goes, okay, I'll remove your creature in response to you doing, whatever it is, the one of those other spells that waits for it to resolve and then sees the creature. Mm-hmm. If the spell was cast from exile, you gain twice X life. So you can foretell this card by paying 2, putting it face down, and playing it later on the later turn for actually 4 green. So you get a little mana reduction there.
I did find that when I was playing this deck or practicing with this deck that I often was foretelling it because you're just waiting until you have all those lands into play, and you often have a little bit of extra mana running around in the early game.
Yeah.
So it's and that double life gain is pretty huge.
Yeah, very big time.
All right, let's talk about the strategy for this deck because we do need to get a ton of stuff into the graveyard. That's going to be a big source of card advantage and card selection for us. So this deck is built to really rely on green's mulch-like effects.
Yeah.
They have a lot of 2-mana spells that mill a certain number of cards and either get a land back or get a permanent back or some sort of amount of selection that also fills up your graveyard for your recursion pieces like Ramunap Excavator and Splendid Reclamation.
And your commander, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, and they're just very efficient. You're playing them early, you're playing them, and you're getting a card back. Oftentimes it's selection. Mulch brings all the land cards back to your hand. Satyr Wayfinder brings just 1 land back. Aftermath Analyst has the ability to bring all the lands back at some point later, stapled onto it, and it mills. So yeah, there's tons of ways to do this in green. And again, you're just wanting to set things up in a way that's really hard for your opponents to interact with unless they're running Graveyard Hate.
Your commander is great because it makes an early game threat that can deal some damage and start beating face early. You can get this into play pretty reliably on turn 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then you'll have, 3 or 4 lands by the time it's attacking. It's evasive, it's a problem, and if they kill it, you can just bring it back and ramp.
Yeah, I would say like a lot of times people will have blockers ready for your commander, even though it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So having the ability to just sack it and just draw a ton of cards, do a bunch of stuff is great because you're going to have other ways to end the game in the late game.
Yeah. Speaking of late game, one of the big strategies you need to keep in mind is hanging on to those big landfall payoffs until you have one of the huge land reanimation effects like Splendid Reclamation.
Right.
There's a bunch of them in the deck, so you don't want to waste a very important card like a Rampaging Baloths on just playing like a 1 land a turn. You want to save it until you can play 3 a turn or bring all the lands from your graveyard back to the battlefield and make a ton of beasts all in one go.
Yeah, otherwise people will remove these pieces really quickly because they recognize, oh, that's the game ender. Played a little too early.
All right, let's talk about that late game and some of those very important pieces.
Yeah, so Rampaging Baloth is just a 6/6 for 6 with trample with the important ability Landfall. When the land you control enters, you create a 4/4 green beast creature token. This is the classic go wide, play a bunch of lands, reanimate them, and then get 15 4/4s and swing it out.
Similarly, Avenger of Zendikar is a huge landfall payoff. This is a 7-mana elemental that says when it enters, you make plants for each land that you control. So hopefully a lot, at least 7, you got Avenger into play. And then it says whenever a land you control enters, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant you control. So make those plants really, really big so they're all threats on their own. Similar effects, about the same cost. The Avenger just makes all the creatures for you.
And of course, you probably have other trample enablers in the deck, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, you want a big overrun type of effect. This deck is really good at casting big, expensive spells. Nissa Ascendant Animist, I think, is a very underrated version of this effect. It has an overrun effect that says until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 for each forest you control and gain trample.
And you can cast this for just 5 mana to get it at 5 loyalty, but the full 7 will give you the 7 in that instant use of that ability.
Yeah. It also makes you big, terrifying Phyrexian Horror tokens and destroys artifacts and enchantments. So it's very flexible. It's good in the early game to give you a board, remove some pieces, and it's great in the late game to turn a big wide board into a end of the game threat.
Okay, let's talk about some of the splurges. My favorite part is talking about some of the more expensive cards in the deck that obviously do a ton of work. So this one's a new one from EOE, and I did not expect this to be such a big hitter so fast, but
I did.
When this thing gets going, you're just amazed.
Yeah.
Icetail Explorer, 2 green for a 2/4 Insect Scout. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Very powerful effect we want redundancy on. You may play lands from your graveyard. Amazing. Just these 2 by itself would make this a great card.
Yep.
And then Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, mill a card.
Great. So if you don't have any lands in your graveyard, you can play one from your hand, mill a card, see if you have one in your graveyard now.
Then play that one from your graveyard, mill another one for the next turn. Or if you have multiple effects that let you play lands, now every single land you play is adding to that milling. So this does the work of like 4 cards in the deck in a single card.
This is a $22 card, so it's definitely on the spendy side, but once you have it in play, you understand how powerful it is and how important it is in this kind of strategy. It just does so much of the work for you.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite types of cards in Commander because people don't want to remove it.
Yeah.
They'd rather spend the removal on something more important or more powerful or more threatening. This thing just sits there and generates a ton of value and makes people go like, oh my gosh, it's just going off, but why? I don't want to kill it because it's not a good use of this very powerful removal spell.
One of my favorite splurges in the deck is Altar of Dementia. This is at $18 right now, so on the spendier side also, but it's a 2-mana artifact that says sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard.
Nice.
The first time you activate this, you're probably targeting yourself.
Yes.
You're sacrificing your commander. Maybe it's 6 or 7 power. You're milling 6 or 7, and you're using a land reanimation spell like Splendid Reclamation to bring all of those lands you just milled back to the battlefield. And now when you bring your commander back, it'll be twice as big. So you can sacrifice it again, get even more lands, or you can start assembling loops where you sacrifice your commander, mill an opponent for 14, bring your commander back to the battlefield, sacrifice it again, mill your opponent for another 14.
Yeah.
You can really do a lot of milling with this thing, and it fuels all of your graveyard synergies in the meantime.
Yeah, Rampaging Baloths plus all of these reanimation effects and Ultra Dementia is a legit viable win con for this deck to be like, how many cards do you have in your deck? 50? Great. I can actually mill you out right now.
I can handle that.
Yeah. Walk-in Closet / Forgotten Cellar is a room card from Duskmourn. You may play lands from your graveyard on one side for 2 and a green, and then Forgotten Cellar 3 green. When you unlock it, you can cast spells from your graveyard that single turn. You're mostly playing it for the first half. The second one is great though in late game.
When I have Goldfish with the second effect, it's like when you open it, you're like, okay, I have 17 mana. I can open this room and cast 3 things from my graveyard. Suddenly I've rebuilt, I've drawn a ton of cards, and it's also just a crucible of worlds in the meantime.
Yeah.
It's sitting at $9.50, but it is very powerful.
It's just for that one turn, but at that point, you're going to have a lot of access to a bunch of mana and go nuts. Or you can sometimes draw it late game and just play that side of it first.
The total budget for this deck is $200.25. It is the most expensive of the bunch, but Landfall decks are very, very popular and also very powerful. So this is a great place to start if you want to explore the big green space. Of course, that deck list can be found in the description. Just check out our ARCHIDEKT. You can see the full list, play it yourself, or order it from Card Kingdom.
Now, we did only build 4 decks for this episode, but please, if you are commenting now or at any point or want to leave a second comment in the video, let us know which decks that you want to see full deck lists for. There are a lot of really interesting cards in this set that aren't like the main heroes and villains. Hydro Man, like we just talked about, Sandman, are really cool and unique. So again, comment below, let us know what you think, or if there's any cards that so far that we mentioned that you're like, wow, can't believe I didn't think of that, or can't believe you didn't think of this. Let us know.
Yeah, we're experimenting with these episodes that provide full deck lists. So if this is something that you like, definitely let us know in the comments. We have 2 more deck lists to get to, but we're going to get to those after a few words from our sponsors.
Run! We're being chased by a charging monstrosaur!
Oh wow, how's it charging in the middle of the jungle?
It's got a rich power bank!
Cool! With the rich power bank, it can charge its phone, Apple Watch, and headphones, all from the same convenient device. It's got 5-in-1 charging with built-in cables.
Wow!
Man, that seems way easier than carrying a bunch of cords around with you, especially with those tiny arms.
Help, it's got haste!
Obviously, with 20 watts of power, it charges your phone fast, and there's enough capacity for 3 full charges. It even has MagSafe compatible wireless charging, so you can keep it magnetically attached to the back of your iPhone for extra juice all the time. With free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty, it's the last power bank you'll ever need.
Oh, nice.
See? It lasted that guy's whole lifetime.
One thing to pack, 5 ways to power. You can find Ridge's power bank at Best Buy, or our listeners can get 10% off at Ridge.com by using code COMMAND at checkout. Just head to Ridge.com and use code COMMAND and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the Command Zone and tell them our show sent you.
This message is sponsored by RAYCON.
Hey, Rachel, you ready for Commander Night?
I am literally always ready for Commander Night.
Nice. What you gonna play?
Feldergriff.
Oh, classic Rachel deck.
With some upgrades, of course.
Oh, classic with upgrades. You know what that reminds me of?
Oh, yeah.
RAYCON's Everyday Earbuds Classic. Got there. RAYCONs are the best. They have that old school design, but they're loaded up with new features like active noise cancellation and multi-point connectivity. They're great for going to the gym or just listening to podcasts on the walk, because with up to 32 hours of battery life, they'll last all day.
Plus, their quick charge function means you can get 90 minutes of listening with only 10 minutes of charging. I like the unique colors too, like cool mint.
Sounds tasty.
Jimmy, do not eat the delicious earbuds. Seriously though, RAYCONs have all the quality of the big brands, but at half the price. And the best part is they have a 30-day happiness guarantee, so if you don't love them, returns are easy.
Sounds like a sweet deal to me. Side question though, are you actually playing Feldergriff tonight? Because if so, I need to pull out some better decks.
Oh yeah, you're going down.
Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/command to get 20% off site-wide. Again, that's buyraycon.com/command.
Hello and welcome to Apogee Science. I am Kilo, your knowledge interface for lucrative opportunities and owner of Kilo's No Lies Cake Shop. Even for a supercomputer like me, starting my own business was intimidating. I needed a partner, but after many contenders failed my rigorous tests, I found the perfect e-commerce companion, Shopify. Their design studio full of ready-to-use templates let me build an effective online store, or as I call it, represent my web portal. Then their marketing platform helped me launch email and social media campaigns to reach new customers and dispel the hateful rumors about my cake's existence. And with Shopify's expertise in global shipping, they ensure my totally real cakes make it exactly where they need to go. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see why Shopify powers 10% of US e-commerce. So make a note, with Shopify, you too can find huge success.
Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/TCZ. Go to shopify.com/TCZ. Again, shopify.com/TCZ.
One fish, two fish, red fish, clue fish.
Dr. Seuss?
No, I'm working on Morph on Fish Typal. Just want to make sure I have enough fish to actually draw some.
Oh, well, you should use ARCHIDEKT's hypergeometric calculator. See? ARCHIDEKT makes it easy to check your chances of drawing what you need, whether it's a certain creature type, mana value, or category of cards, like ramp or draw spells. I use it to check my land count. See, in this deck, you only have a 61% chance of drawing 3 lands by turn 2. Might be a little low.
Okay, I'll cut a basic or two.
Wait, you mean add?
Nope, I've got a reputation to uphold. ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/commandzone.
Welcome back, everybody. We are talking about 4 very cool deck lists from Spider-Man, the upcoming set, both from Welcome Decks and the original set, that you can build for a great budget of $200 or less. Let's get right into it. Who's up next?
Venom, Eddie Brock. There's a couple of Venoms running around. We picked the one from the starter kit because this is very powerful and also very approachable if you are new to Magic and just into Venom. This card is 4 black for a legendary creature symbiote villain. He's a 6/4 with menace, and whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Venom. If that creature was a villain, draw a card.
Ew.
He benefits from other villains dying, which is very, very Venom.
Yeah, there are some villains in the set as well, obviously.
So this is a grindy black deck that tries to kill as many creatures as possible, yours, your opponent's, and it will buff up your commander and make him a lethal commander threat. He's got a little bit of evasion. He already starts off as a 6/4, so it doesn't take a lot for this to be a very scary thing on the board.
Yeah, and of course, you're a mono black deck. You're killing a lot of stuff. This is definitely a strategy that not everyone will be into. Including yourself, but for the players that do enjoy this type of gameplay, this is a very cool way to do it.
Yeah, we really tried to keep this deck as manageable as possible. I do think that this will be an okay deck to play against. It's not just board wipe, typal, don't worry. But it does have some very powerful ways to control the creatures on the board, like Massacre Girl.
Yeah.
This is 3 black for a 4/4 with menace. When Massacre Girl enters, each other creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn.
So as long as there is an X1 on the board, when this dies, it will start the chain and move up to now anything with X2, -2/-2 will kill, that will die, and then it goes up to 3 to 4 to 5, and typically this wipes the board.
Except you're going to have Massacre Girl, and every time a creature dies, your commander gets 1 bigger. So it is always going to be big enough to dodge the Massacre Girl board wipe, as long as you make sure you put the counters on first and then do the next phase of -1/-1.
Yeah.
Because they're both your triggers, you're in control of how they stack.
Yeah, that's super cool. By the end of it, you won't be able to swing with your commander because it'll be very small.
It's true.
But the next turn,
it will survive.
Yeah. And it's very cool. Not very many things dodge a Massacre Girl. This is a great way to kind of have a one-sided board wipe in a way.
Yeah. Really powerful in the deck. Very, very cool if you can pull it off. The next one we mentioned is Archfiend of Depravity. This is 3 black for a demon. It says at the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures they control, then sacrifices the rest.
Whoa.
Pretty powerful, pretty rude. Says you get to keep your 2 favorites and everything else has to buff my Venom.
Yeah, this is one of those like stops the whole game in its tracks. And the very important thing about this is that your Venom has menace. So this makes it really easy to attack opponents because it's like, great, do I want to block with my 2 best things and they will both die? Ugh, I don't think so.
Pretty
or get
rude.
hit by a huge Venom. Not great either. Black loves this type of effect. Make an example from new Commander. Each opponent separates the creature creatures they control into 2 piles. For each opponent, you choose one of those piles, and they have to sacrifice the creatures in the chosen pile. So this is like, hey, you got to split it up, and I'm gonna get to choose what goes away. Very villainous, very fun.
Yeah, and for every creature that dies, your commander's getting bigger.
Yeah.
The next thing is black also likes to benefit from when creatures die. So you're going to run a lot of cards that care about when creatures die.
Yes.
Some of them care about when your opponent's creatures die. Some of them care about when your creatures die. A big draw engine in this kind of deck is Morbid Opportunist.
Yeah.
It's 2 and a black. It says whenever one or more other creatures die, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Yeah, it's super great because if you're playing against an aristocrats deck or someone else that's just incidentally killing things on their turn, you also get to draw from it. A way to ramp really quickly in this type of deck is Pitiless Plunderer. It's 3 in the black. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. All right. Now
Pretty
you're just pumping
good.
out treasures.
Finally, Crypt of Agadim is a land that enters tapped. It says 2, tap, add black for each black creature card in your graveyard. You are running a lot of small creatures, a lot of value creatures that are going to put stuff into your graveyard so you can bring it back to the battlefield and keep churning through your graveyard and the battlefield to make your commander bigger and bigger. So having Crypt of Agadim to be a big burst of black mana is going to be really, really important.
Yeah, we do love that. Now, of course, when you have a bunch of stuff in the graveyard, as you are apt to do in this deck, you're going to want to find ways to reanimate it. Another thing that black is really good at, or to bring it back to your hand. So there's a few choices here. We've got Chthonian Nightmare. It's a 1 in the black enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you get some energy counters, and then you can pay X and energy to sack a creature, return Chthonian Nightmare to its owner's hand, and then return target creature with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So you get 3 energy counters when this comes down. You pay X number of those energy. You can get a 3-drop back, a 2-drop back, a 1-drop back, and then you can replay Chthonian Nightmare to start building up your energy count again.
Yep.
Great card.
It's very cool. It's good with all the small creatures that you're going to be playing, and it makes sure that you always have your most important pieces on the battlefield. Doomed Necromancer is the next one. It's 2 and a black. It's a little creature that has an activated ability. Black, tap, sacrifice Doomed Necromancer, and return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yay.
You've got some big, powerful effects, not to mention your commander, that you can bring back to the battlefield in the early game when everybody's still getting set up, or in the late game after your opponents think that they've answered your problem permanent. Nope, it's back and scarier than ever.
Yeah, another Massacre Girl, another Archfiend of Depravity. No one's going to like you then. Phyrexian Reclamation is a classic enchantment for just a black. You can pay 1 in black and 2 left to return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you have a little extra mana lying around, great way to just get that stuff back.
Finally, your commander cares about when villains die.
Yeah.
There's a couple new villains that are in the set that are very good. You can certainly run those villains and they will help you draw extra cards, but there's not a ton of them. So I think it's kind of,
especially.
I think it's kind of interesting to play the card Conspiracy.
Yeah.
This is a 5 mana enchantment that says when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, in this case, villain. Then creatures you control are the chosen type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield.
Cool.
Now, all of your cards by default are villains.
And they'll draw you a card. Yeah, because there aren't too many villains, it's hard to build into this sub-theme, but Conspiracy plus your commander is just too sweet of a deal to pass up.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Let's get into the strategy of a deck like this. It's going to be totally different from your mono white deck. It's going to be totally different from your mono green deck. Well, it's kind of similar to the green deck. We're doing a lot of graveyard stuff.
Yeah.
But it benefits, this one in particular benefits from a long game. You've got an expensive commander that cares about when creatures die. If you have an opportunity to slow your opponents down, it's going to make it easier for you to win in the late game.
Yeah, and this is really good in creature-heavy pods as well. If everyone's playing a Spellslinger deck, probably don't whip out Venom Eddie Brock. You're not going to have a great time there. But in those longer, grindier games, people are playing a lot of creatures. You have like things to remove yourself and their stuff, and you just have this dangerously terrifying commander. Pretty powerful.
Yeah. You have a lot of tools to manipulate the late game. You've got a lot of things to bring creatures back from the graveyard, powerful game-ending creatures that can take over the game if you only have one on the board. So you benefit from keeping the board clear and trying to dominate with one big thing is how this deck is trying to play.
Yeah, and then late game, you're reanimating or bringing stuff back that adds to that mayhem where it goes, oh my gosh, I just can't keep up when you dropped the Massacre Girl again or the Archfiend.
All right, let's talk about that late game. How are we winning the game with Venom?
Venom. You're killing Venom, people with Venom. I guess Eddie Brock is also partially complicit in this. Either someone that's lost a huge board state thanks to your sweepers, Venom's now coming in, he's got, let's say, 12 power. Or you hit them early in the game when they're okay letting it through, and then they realize, oh no, that 10 damage I have marked on me is now enough to kill me with that next big swing from Venom.
Yeah, your commander is going to be pretty scary once he's on the battlefield. He's going to be big. He's going to be tough to block. So be ready for your opponents to be looking your way. They're going to see your big thing. They're going to see what you've done, and they're going to come for you. So don't play your commander. Don't make any big moves until you're ready to be really scary, or you're ready to reanimate Venom if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, a lot of late game cards that are really powerful are ones that are one-sided board wipes or ways to close out the game really quickly. Mm-hmm. So a really fun one I placed in SHOPIFY is Mandate of Abaddon. 3 in a black, choose target creature you control, destroy all creatures with power less than that creature's power. So it's going to be your commander, most likely, and you're going to blow everything up below 6, 7, 8, whatever power it's at. And then you've got free swings on a huge part of the board, probably.
It's going to be really, really scary and going to come out of nowhere that turn. Black is really good at closing out the game with Gray Merchant of Asphodel. This is a classic closer for black. It's when Gray Merchant of Asphodel enters, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way.
Yeah.
So for the more black pips you have on the battlefield, those little black circles, the more life your opponents will lose, the more life you will gain. Yeah. Greedy, powerful, and you've got a lot of effects to make sure that Gary enters once or twice or even 3 times to close the game out.
Yeah, typically you only need once to really get to that point.
Yeah.
And then unblockable on your commander. Rogue's Passage is the classic way to do this. There are obviously lots of ways to do it to your own taste, but the one that is in this deck that is very obvious is Rogue's Passage. Just pay 4 mana, tap, a target creature can't be blocked this turn. Venom chomps down, and bye-bye says you. Bye-bye says you to them. They don't say anything because they've gone bye-bye.
Yes, they're
Venom likes to eat people's heads, so they won't be able to say anything.
Let's talk about the splurges in this deck where we are putting the big bucks for those powerful effects. The first one is Kindred Dominance.
Oh, yeah.
5, black. Choose a creature type. Destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type.
Yeah.
This could be villain. This could be symbiote. Either way, you're trying to keep your commander on the board and get rid of everything else. Make a big commander and knock somebody out of the game.
Yeah, if you have Conspiracy, it's really going to be a GG with that
Really going to be good.
Next up is Ripples of Undeath, a classic from the latest Modern Horizons set. 1 in the black and disenchantment. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you mill 3, and then you may pay 1 and 3 life. If you do, you put a card from among those cards into your hand. So this is a way to draw cards, but more importantly, fill up your graveyard, as the paying 1 and 3 life is optional.
This one's sitting at $9, but it's going to be a great engine for you in the early game to make sure you have all of the pieces to assemble your engine and your combos. So getting big creatures on the board fast.
And finally, my own personal favorite.
Love it.
Breach the Multiverse. Yay! 5 black. Everyone mills 10 cards, and you may choose a creature or planeswalker in each player's graveyard to bring back to the battlefield. Doesn't need to be the creatures that you milled this way. It can be something that's already been in the graveyard. So again, that Massacre Girl or other very powerful things, or Gray Merchant.
Oh yeah. Breach the Multiverse is so fun to cast and really powerful in the late game once those graveyards are full. The total budget for this Eddie Brock deck is $191.75. Nice. Got a little room to spare there. And again, the full link to this deck list, if you want to check out everything we put in there, if you want to play test it on ARCHIDEKT, if you want to buy it on Card Kingdom, is in the description below.
Okay.
We've got one more deck for you.
Yeah, and it's not monocolored, but it's a really fun one. It's Spider-Man 2099. This is a fun card. Blue and a red for a 2/3 spider human hero. Has an ability called From the Future, and you cannot cast Spider-Man 2099 during your first, second, or third turns of the game. So you'll be doing other things.
Yeah, he's from the future. You can't come right now.
Yeah, it's a 2/3. It has double strike and vigilance.
Ew.
Ugh. And at the beginning of your end step, if you play the land or cast a spell this turn from anywhere other than your hand, Spider-Man 2099 deals damage equal to his power to any target. So 2 at the bare minimum. If you have ways to pump it up, this can just be shooting things, pew-pewing things from all over the place. If you've played a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, fortunately, red is extremely good at this.
Yeah. And Spider-Man 2099 triggers himself the turn he comes down because you've cast him from the command zone. So on turn 4, when your commander has been unlocked, when you've reached the future, you can cast your commander and you don't have to do any additional work. It will trigger right away. You can spend that mana buffing up his power.
Yeah, very cool.
So this is a red and blue deck that is for slightly more advanced players, but not very. I think this is a very manageable list. Its plan is to cast a bunch of cheap spells from anywhere but your hand. Who needs a hand when you're playing red? And you're going to use your commander's ability to pick off your commander's value creatures. Try and make sure that they're not running away with value, and then make sure your commander gets really, really big and you can deal huge chunks of damage in the late game.
Yeah, just to their face at that point.
Let's talk about some of the themes in the deck.
Yeah, casting from exile. Again, red is very good at doing this. There are a lot of cards that do this now. One is really fun, Tavern Brawler. This is an enchantment background for 2 in a red, and it just gives all commander creatures you own. At the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top card of your library, and the creature, so good, gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. And you can play that card this turn. So obviously see where this is going. You exile another 2-drop or 3-drop. Your commander goes up to 4 or 5. You can play the card, and then you will trigger that second ability and just dome something.
Pretty good. The next one that I've been very impressed with is Wild Wasteland. 2 in a red for an enchantment. It says skip your draw step, but at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn.
Ooh.
So you don't draw any more cards, but that's fine. You get 2 cards on your upkeep. Normally, these cards can feel kind of slow, Tavern Brawler, Wild Wasteland, but you can't play your commander until turn 4 anyway.
Right.
So having these setup pieces can be just huge.
Turn 3, next turn you have your commander, you're hopefully hitting a land and a cheap spell off the top or something.
Yeah, they feel really, really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. This next one is a Rachel favorite, so I'll let you read it.
It's Zenith Festival.
Yeah.
X red for a sorcery. Exile the top X cards of your library. You may play them until the end of your next turn.
Yep, so you get a whole turn, which is great.
And then, having that extra turn is huge. And then it has Harmonize X red. So this can impulse draw a lot of cards when you cast it from your hand, but the best way to play this is to discard it to the graveyard and cast it for red and tapping your big powerful commander. So this deck is good at buffing your commander, making his power really high so he deals more damage, and using his power for Zenith Festival means that you get to impulse draw as many cards as your commander is powerful.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
And you can pump extra mana into it if you want, but you're going to want to save that mana typically to cast more spells out of your hand next time. Okay, ways to buff the power of your commander, obviously very important because that's when you're going to be able to get rid of the really problematic stuff with higher toughness or just kill an opponent. Haste Magic is a perfect addition from Final Fantasy where it gives a creature +3/+1 and gives it haste, and then you can exile the top card of your library. You can play until your next end step. Did we mention that this commander is a double strike vigilant creature?
Oh yeah, it's just a huge beater. Yeah.
Yeah, so this makes it a 5/4 immediately, and if no one can block it, it's going to hit twice.
Yeah, the other one, there's a lot from Final Fantasy in this deck, is Astrologian's Planisphere.
So good.
1 in a blue for an artifact equipment with job select. So when it enters, you make a hero and attach it to it. It says equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types and has whenever you cast a non-creature spell and whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, equip 2.
Yeah, so it's mostly going to be from, of course, casting non-creatures to give it +1 counters.
But this is great to put on your commander. This deck has a small equipment package that you can put on your commander, load up on those counters, move this around as much as you would like. It's also just an alternate threat if you need it.
Yeah, there's Clout of the Dominus, which is just a hybrid red or blue to enchant a creature. It's blue, gets +1/+1, and has Shroud, which is great. It gives +1/+1 and haste as long as the creature is red. So it's just a good, cheap way to get your commander buffed up early. And of course, more importantly, you're playing this in games when you want to protect your commander.
Yes. All right. The next theme is just dealing more damage. This is a burn deck. Your commander is going to be able to do a lot of damage. It will be able to do a fair amount of combat damage as well, but a little bit of help to get it over the top to make sure you can get your opponents from 40 all the way down to 0 is helpful. So playing cards like this one from Doctor Who, Memory Worm. 1 and a red for an alien worm. He's from the future. He knows all about alien worms.
That's true, yeah.
Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Memory Worm deals 2 damage to target player. That player discards a card, then draws a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Memory Worm. So it gives them a little benefit, but it deals some additional damage, and your worm grows ever bigger.
Yeah.
It is worth noting that your commander does trigger if you cast a spell from anywhere. You could cast it from your graveyard to the top of your library, from the command zone. We just chose to focus this deck on casting from exile because that is something that red is so good at.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. A new one from the set is Shadow of the Goblin. That would be Norman Osborn. 1 and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card if you do draw a card. And the second ability, whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. So typically this is for the Madness ability, or not the Madness ability, the Mayhem ability from the set, but this works really well with Spider-Man 2099 because you're building your deck around Cast from Exile.
Yeah, you could definitely include some Mayhem cards in this list as well.
Yeah.
It works very well with your commander.
Yeah, so Shadow of the Goblin just pinging everyone down bit by bit.
And you get a little loot. That works for me.
Yeah.
Throw your Zenith Festival in the graveyard.
I dig it.
Finally, I wanted to mention Dalico's Crafter of Wonders. 1 blue and a red for a 2 for a Merfolk Artificer. It taps to add colorless. You can spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. Like I said, there's a fair amount of equipment in the deck. And then it says, equipped creature you control have flying and haste.
Ooh, on your commander, so good.
Flying, double strike, vigilance, haste. Yes, I accept. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so what is the strategy behind this deck? How do we win?
A couple things. So you're not going to be able to cast your commander for the first few turns of the game. So you want to make sure that you have lots of cheap spells to do something in the early game and set up for when your futuristic commander arrives.
Yeah, you have those cards that give you exile cards. You have equipment that are cheap enough to play in those first few turns. Ramp.
Making sure that all of that is ready for him is super, super important. And then the first few turns that you have him on the battlefield, I see him more as a control piece. You're trying to pick off problematic permanents. I wouldn't focus down one player. I would just, it will be a little scary, but removing 1 Beast Whisperer, removing 1 mana creature is going to feel really good in the first couple of turns. And then you want to get a ton of stuff on him at once so you can dome a player out of nowhere.
Ooh, yeah, or hit them with him as well.
Right, so you buff him all up, attack 1 player, take them out of the game, and then on end step, shoot a bunch of non-combat damage at another player.
The great question to ask is, hey everyone, what do you think is the most problematic card at the table that I can kill for 2 damage right now?
Yeah.
And you'll get a pretty diplomatic answer, and the best is when the player goes like, yeah, that was the thing you should have killed. Otherwise, they will try and kill a commander very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, on to late game then.
Yeah, so this deck can close out the game in a number of ways, like we've mentioned, but basically buffing your commander all at once so he doesn't get incrementally scary, he just gets suddenly scary. Oh no, we can't deal with it. There's a lot of good protection for him in the deck. There's hexproof equipment that also buff his power. That kind of thing is great. Once you have that on him, then you can go for a big turn where he's double striking, where he's buffed. He's going to deal combat and non-combat damage.
Yeah.
Card advantage is like a main part of this deck's engine because it has so many cast from exile spells. So it doesn't need to be a super, super fast deck to really take over the game. It can be kind of incremental. It can be kind of slow. So don't rush it if you don't feel like you can actually protect the win.
Yeah, because people, they can see us coming from a long ways away because this is an end step trigger. And you have cast the spell or played the land before then, so people know, oh, this is coming now. And you're equipping stuff on your commander, so... some important late game cards. This is a really fun one from the set. It's Chameleon, Master of Disguise. It's a clone that does not kill itself because of the legendary rule. You may have Chameleon enter as a copy of a creature you control, except its name is Chameleon, Master of Disguise, or you can play it for its Mayhem ability for 2 in the blue if you
cast from the graveyard.
Yeah, if it hits the graveyard this turn, you can cast it for 1 less. So a 3 mana clone that can clone legendary cards. Pretty cool.
Yeah, doubling up on your commander's ability means you can pick off something small and send a bunch of damage face.
We haven't mentioned the equipment, so we should talk about one.
Yeah, here's a big buff that is really inexpensive, actually, for what it does. It's Wrecking Ball Arm. It only costs 2 to cast, and then it says equipped creature has base power and toughness 7/7 and can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And then equip legendary creature 3. So it's 5 mana to do the whole thing, but it gets it huge and gives it evasion all in one.
Yeah, that's sick.
Which means your commander can't just be chumped. They have to throw a real thing in front of it if they want to block.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
It's all the different Spider-Man. Spider-Man 29 is not on this card, unfortunately, but there is a dinosaur spider on there. 3 red for an enchantment. The legend rule doesn't apply to spiders you control. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent, it gains haste. Do this only once each turn. Wow, the copies stay around.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So good. Imagine 2 Wrecking Ball arms. Actually, that's not great. Imagine 2 chameleons.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's what the late game in this deck is going to look like. It's going to be you're going to spend a couple of buffs all in one turn and take somebody out or 2 players out of nowhere. But let's talk about those splurge cards, the one that really push your deck over the top and are worth spending a couple extra bucks on.
Yeah, this one is almost like, it's funny, this card single-handedly, this next one is like 15% of the deck's budget.
I cannot believe how expensive this card is.
Yeah, it's Passionate Archaeologist. 1 in a red enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have, whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. It's like a Warstorm Surge type thing. It only costs 2 mana, which makes a lot of sense. You can play this early. It'll stick around. People don't like getting rid of these types of cards as well until they have to. So it's great.
Helps with the non-combat damage plan for sure.
Yeah.
Sitting at $14, the Sword of Forge and Frontier is exactly what this deck wants.
Ooh-wee.
3 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and green. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. You may play an additional land this turn, and it equips for 2.
Yeah.
Your commander has double strike and cares about having a buff power. So you equip this to your commander, you hit twice, you exile 4 cards, you get to play 2 additional lands a turn.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't imagine running out Sword of Forge and Frontier until you can attack with your commander.
Yeah, play it, equip, know you're safe, and then attack with your commander, knowing you can get in, because the pro red and green, you'll very clearly know who you can kill or attack with.
Yeah.
And then finally, Delayed Blast Fireball, just a great board wipe at instant speed. 1 red instant. Now the first part, not so good. Delayed Blast Fireball deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. But the second part, even better. If this spell is cast from exile, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and each creature they control instead. Wow. 2 damage can be a lot, but 5 damage is game changing.
Absolutely.
Because you can foretell this for 2 mana and play it for 4 red, or exile it off the top of your library.
Yep, you've got a lot of impulse draw in this deck. You have lots of ways to get this in exile so you can cast it. Delayed Blast Fireball is going to be great if you can pull it off.
Yeah, from exile for 1 red to do that, you might just win the game.
It's sitting at $13 right now, but is that powerful? This budget is a lot lower than the other ones. However, the total budget is $168.25.
And again, ARCHIDEKT.com/command
for that
check
deck
out
list.
all of our deck lists. Yeah, and of course, the link directly to that deck list in the show notes.
Yeah, so these are just the decks that we built full deck lists for. If you want to find out what decks Jimmy and I are building from this set, what commander cards we're excited about, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But if you were excited about any of the decks that we talked about, if you like any of these deck lists and you want to go buy them, you can support the show by using our affiliate link at cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom is great because if you go to the advanced deck builder like search thing, you can just paste a whole deck list and it'll give you all of the options for each card that you've pasted in.
Whoa.
And you can pick the price, you can pick the version, you can pick the condition,
That's
all
cool.
on one page. Truly, when I'm buying a deck and I need to get a ton of cards in one place, I use Card Kingdom just because it's so easy and I don't have to mess with a ton of different vendors and a ton of different envelopes showing up in the mail.
Sometimes you have to search up the version you want in other ways and then go like, okay, it's not that one, but it's this one. They all have individual pages. So that advanced deck builder tool is actually super cool and super convenient.
Yep. Use the affiliate link at cardkingdom.com/command.
And of course, go to ultrapro.com/command to get your game accessory needs. We trust our own collections, or at least I do trust my own collection, all of it to Ultra Pro stuff. You know, they've got like those cool cards, the little table things that you can showcase a card in. They have wall scrolls.
One-touch edge.
ultrapro.com/command. I guarantee if you go to that website, you'll find something that's either on sale or something that is interesting to you that could benefit your collection.
Absolutely.
Okay, decks that we're building from Spider-Man. That's right, Rachel and I also are deck builders. Well, I'm a deck builder. Rachel is very clearly a deck builder. What are you going to build?
So I'm excited about this set. This is the first UB that I kind of know more stuff about. I'm not like super deep on the Spider-Man lore, but I recognize all of this.
Yeah.
And We talked about this in the Commanders episode. If you want to see us talk about a ton of other ones, none of the decks that we talked about today were in the other Commander episode. So if you just want to find out more about what we think about Spider-Man Commanders, go check out that episode. But the one that I was most excited about, I've actually played on game nights, that's coming out soon, is Mr. Negative.
Yeah.
This is this big 7-mana commander in Orzhov that when it hits the battlefield, you get to swap life totals with somebody. And if you lose life that way, you get to draw a bunch of cards. If you gain life that way, you also
gain a bunch of life.
Hurt somebody a ton.
Yeah.
So it has this really powerful effect that everybody worries about in the commands. They're like, what is this going to do?
How do I play around this? Yeah, it's
so,
great.
For game nights, I built it very much as like a blink deck. I wanted to be able to control when Mr. Negative entered the battlefield and like when I swapped and if I could swap back. I think if I built it for my own collection, I would probably go a little bit riskier with it. I think I want to do like Dark Confidant style effects.
Oh, Keen Duelist.
Yeah, that like draw extra cards but hurt you in the process.
So you are purposefully going down in life. Yeah, I like that.
So that feels a little bit more manipulative, a little bit more control-y, and a little less not controlling. It's a little bit more proactive, honestly, but it's less of a sit back and see what happens deck, and more of a like I'm gonna be front foot.
Would you put Necropotence in that deck?
Probably not.
It's a little game changer.
It's a little game changery, but that was something that I was really excited about, and the potential of having a commander in the command zone that manipulates the game before it even comes down.
Yeah, that's great.
Is really fun, and
he's got an eminence ability.
Yeah,
make everyone talk about their life totals.
Everybody goes, oh, what are we gonna do about that? What are we gonna do?
Oh no! All of a sudden, Rachel's at a really low life total. I don't want to switch over with me. Yeah, do we kill her? Can we kill her?
I thought about building a life gain version of the deck, but the problem with life gain decks is your opponents are like, we have to attack you just to bring your life total back down to normal.
It's hard to like be at a super high life total and then play Mr. Negative because they'll see it coming from a mile away.
Right. So it's a little bit too projected. So I do like the idea of like dropping your life total and swapping with somebody else.
That's cool.
Playing a little bit more of that.
I'm still looking at Norman Osborn Green Goblin as a card that I might want to build around. This card is absurd.
It is absurd.
I did build it for game nights, and I had to do so in a way that wasn't just pure degenerate, just full blown.
You put so many breaks on that card, and it was still busted.
It was still busted. Yeah. And so, I love Grixis. I have my Marchesa deck, and I've been trying to think, okay, is it time to retire old Marchesa for something different? And Green Goblin, Norman Osborn is the closest I've gotten so far to being like, yeah, I think this is the one. So I'm thinking about it. I'm very close to pulling the trigger.
Well, if you haven't seen it already, you have to check out the arena version only of this.
It's called Theme. Yeah, we're showing it on screen here. Only exists in MTG Arena, but I guarantee you people will be printing out Fleems to put on top of their Green Goblin.
It's so funny and silly.
Because it is very funny and silly, yeah.
So if you're into Fleem or Green Goblin, it's definitely a cool build. Jimmy's Decklist will be coming out soon.
Yeah,
but that's like
great.
I mean, that's a very stormy version of the deck. So you're discarding cards, casting them for cheaper.
Yeah. The only problem with Fleem or Green Goblin is that this is 100% the most removal on site commander I've seen in a while.
It's so powerful. Yeah. Like I removed it on site. It wasn't like it didn't feel good.
I got the turn, right?
That's true.
You just have to do some stuff with it and you feel just unstoppable. So thank you, Fleem.
So
all right.
Those are the ones that caught our eye from Spider-Man. We talk more in detail about them in the other Commander episode, or you can keep an eye out for them in Game Nights, which will be coming out soon.
Yeah, we want to know what you're going to build as well, so let us know in the comments. All right, cleanup step. Thanks to our big team here at the Command Zone. Amazing Spider-Man, amazing team. Sebastian Salazar, Karina Cruz, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jordan Pridgen, Jake Boss, Becky Bell, Rachel Kendra, Eric Lem, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, and of course, Josh Lee Kwai. All right, everyone. Thanks, Rachel, for building another amazing set of decks for all of the world to enjoy.
Hope you enjoy.
You are the best. Okay.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.